Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my Star Atlas Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 106. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for news recap number 154. So, quick summary of things that happened in Star Atlas this past week. Beyond the Horizon did a great video series on all the larger and, large and bigger ships. The UE5 showroom, had a special feature where all the ships were available, so he did a great video. And then the Atlas Brew occurred, and they again talked about fleet rentals, so talk about those couple things. But before I get into that, just a couple of quick things on things I'm doing at Star Atlas. Still in the process of revising my Star Atlas DAO PIP or proposal for in-person community media platform, so love to get any feedback. If you want to go into the Star Atlas Discord, look for the DAO section, and then see it's in PIP drafts, and it's in-person community meetup platform. Did a second revision of that based on the DAO Council's feedback or review. So I think I got it. So just waiting for them to do a second review, hopefully to move on to the next phase. Also, just want to mention I do have a Star Atlas merch store at Intergalactic Gear. It's open for business, has some mugs, and very, 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 very slowly trying to add the next product line, which is wall art based off of the Star Atlas original posters. So, and then finally, I am trying to get started a kind of different Star Atlas community for just gamers, not people not interested in joining a guild, but yet still want to hang out and would prefer not to hang out in the Star Atlas Discord, kind of more of a come in, come out type of platform. So if you go to intergalacticcoalition.com, I got an interest survey there. You can read more about it too. So let's get into the content. Again, as I mentioned, Beyond the Horizon did a video series. So I'm not sure why, but Star Atlas, let's see, what did they say? So in the last update, they removed the requirement to have a wallet when logging in. They said they were doing that for some testing purposes. So I'm not sure if this was the outcome or if they intentionally decided to do this, but they made that all ships in the Star Atlas showroom, the UE5 version of the game, were accessible. So Beyond the Horizon did a pretty clever video series where he looked at the size of the ship. So as anybody who's kind of familiar with Star Atlas, there's different ships all the way at the bottom. I think there's the extra small all the way up to the Titan. So Beyond the Horizon did a series of videos where he looked at all the large ships. And then, again, I haven't really looked at all of them because I'm never going to be able to afford one. But I think it was Commander ship, Capital ship. I don't know. Anyways, and then, can't even remember, Commander. Anyways, he's got a listing and then up all the way up to the Titans. And then he did kind of a bonus video at the end where he started putting all the Titans in one picture, but then apparently he got motivated and kept putting all the ships. So took some pictures of all the ships in one place. So anyways, but what is kind of cool, and again, saves you some time if you don't have it, or by the time this comes out, maybe that feature has been turned off. But again, just looking at the ships and things like that. So great little video series there. And then this past week, the community team did the Atlas Brew, and this time they did kind of their part two on the fleet rentals. They showed some more images, and this time really talked about kind of the workflow on how someone who wants to put their fleet up for rental, how that would work both by images and then kind of discussing the process, and then the other option, if you wanted to rent someone's fleet, how that would work with images and stuff. And again, they had the two people that sounds like they were helping to develop the fleet rentals, both a Star Atlas employee and a community builder who's involved too. Again, can't remember anybody's name. So, but anyways, it's a video. Star Atlas TV recorded it, so you can go to my website, look for news recap number 154, and you can find a link to that, or just go onto YouTube and search for Star Atlas TV. So that was, again, another great thing, and I'll kind of segue into the next segment, kind of my thoughts on the state of Star Atlas, and I kind of go in reverse order, so I'll talk about fleet rentals first. Yeah, it was actually getting cool to see, and I mean, I guess one thing I do want to continue to, just say, excellent job. This kind of rollout of features. They did this with local markets. Now they're doing it with fleet rentals. We have a delivery date, March 5th. So again, coming up, the community team kind of takes lead in mentioning what's happening, running the Atlas Brew about those things, getting some community feedback, but bringing team members who are developing it to answer questions. Again, I think this is just a great, I guess I keep calling it new development, but again, if they've done two of them, but just a great rollout on how to do things. So again, I think that's really great. Learning more and hearing more, again, kind of keeps making the fleet rental idea, the concept, sound really cool. Something that definitely has the potential to really change up the game, just like the local markets did. But I think the other good thing, and definitely the person who was developing on Star Atlas team side, that kept reiterating that this is the quote MVP, which is I'm pretty sure stands for minimum viable product. So people were asking questions, and you could kind of just tell from the questions, like, yeah, that needs to be fixed. But again, if they fixed everything, they would never get anything out. And it does sound like their scope of work that they're trying to do is make sure that it functions, make sure that there's no glaring problems, but that there's obviously room for improvement. In fact, they already know they need to improve it. So again, I think that's great. The one thing that stood out for me, as definitely feels like something needs to be fixed, is when you rent a fleet, it's all based on time. So if you wait to the end of the time you want to do it, the fleet just kind of expires and basically stops, and ownership reverts back to the person who owns it. So it could be at a starbase doing something, it could be traveling somewhere, and it sure sounds like that literally it just stops. So one weird thing was, I guess it's not really weird if you think about it, and they mentioned it twice now in the last 2 hour reviews, the idea of like a car rental. The car rental company makes it in your best interest to return the car to the lot. I mean, you just abandoned it somewhere on the side of the road, got your credit card on file, they're going to come after you. But more of the idea of things like the consumables, like the gas that's in a car and things like that. But again, when the interesting thing is if the rentee doesn't get it back to someplace and take out their resources, those resources revert back to the person that's the renter. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, they should have planned that into their time. So it seems like the simplest thing, of course, is, watch your clock, get something done. And again, it could be as simple as just don't keep it in the fleet. I mean, you could still have it at a starbase. It's still in your own thing. But if it's in the fleet and your time expires, you lose those resources. So definitely something to manage. But I think the related thing, though, is let's say it was moving and your fleet just stops in the middle of space. Well, there's no fuel, or maybe there's fuel. I don't know. But it stopped. And then the renter has to kind of go grab his fleet again and put it back someplace, but there might not be any fuel in it, so they might have to self-destruct it just to get it back. And so it seems like that needs to be refined in the sense that it shouldn't be a penalty that I have to destroy my fleet and lose something just because somebody else abandoned it somewhere in bad management. But again, they stated it's minimum by power. And if you think about it, that is the obvious state that it should be. It just stops, but doesn't feel like a fair thing for the person renting it out. Sorry, I can't keep the words. But anyways, like they said, things will get fine. But definitely, and I think the other good thing about talking and hearing more about it is it does give you a chance to start thinking, well, how could you use this? And one of the things that was brought up was definitely the idea that freighting transport would be a really big thing. And again, as I've been doing my journey, I mean, I don't know, it might be intriguing if I could rent a really big or a fleet with a lot of cargo and quickly move things around in a short time frame. Immediately I have to put the fuel in, but just, again, a time saver over my fleet that takes a lot longer. So again, definitely very intriguing. So it will be interesting to see how that comes. And then I guess the final thing, just to be whatever, I still hope there's enough people that want to do both sides of these things, because again, I'm still not sure why somebody who has a perfectly working system and they're accomplishing what they want will stop and rent their fleet out, because it seemed like they could take more advantage of having it themselves. But again, we'll see. And that's, again, the whole idea of market economies and things like that. There's got to be incentives for both parties to do different things. So anyways, again, overall still just pretty cool. And I guess by the time next week comes out, this will have been released. And then the final thing to talk about was, again, Beyond the Horizons showing off the large ships. And I don't know, just after so many years, and I guess part of me is just that you're not going to be able to afford something big. So you kind of just dismiss these bigger ships and just focus on areas you can. But it was cool seeing them again. It was interesting to see how many of, at least on the outside, the ships or outside, the clay model phase the team talks about, so that they actually had some things. So it is kind of cool seeing them again. But Beyond the Horizon kind of took, I think, like an air bike or something and kind of flew around them and tried to get a sense of scale and things like that. Again, these are big ships. So it was just kind of cool to kind of go back to the beginning. And Star Atlas, at least the way I learned about it, was, again, this grand space exploration game. And, of course, space exploration involves spaceships. And so to see the ships again, nothing wrong with racing, nothing wrong with the game, gunplay, shooter type of thing. But, ships is what was kind of got me interested in this. And to see them all again, and even the fun thing he did again, putting all the ships around and moving them and trying to get a picture of everything in one place, it kind of didn't, I guess, reminded me of the thing that was the interesting part. And even if I never can afford one of these ships, there is the idea that you will have the opportunity, maybe through chance or by choice, to see one of these ships that are really there, and know that, at that point when we're controlling them, that they're truly, there's people inside, there's things inside. And, again, it gets back to some of the things, I guess I'm dating myself, but, the original Star Wars and Star Trek, they are, maybe not Star Trek as much because they didn't have many different size ships, but definitely Star Wars, where you had the big Star Destroyers and, can't remember, Mon Cali cruisers. I don't know, whatever the Rebels had, in the, what was that scene? Return of the Jedi, where they're attacking or defending the fleet. Anyways, I'm messing up. But anyways, there was different sizes. There was the X-Wings that were smaller and things like that. So Star Wars did have some different scales to ships. And so even if you're on the small little ship, you might be flying in a fleet or in a battle or whatever, and the big ships are fighting it out and you're zooming around. So, always thinking of that kind of gameplay, but also just immersion in an environment. And I do remember somebody a few years back sharing some videos of Star Citizen, and definitely there was that sense of zooming around and things like that. So it was cool, again, seeing those things and reminding, kind of the things that got me most interested in Star Atlas. So cool that we had a glitch, or a planned glitch, in the showroom where we could actually take a look at those. So anyway, so moving on to the last section, just kind of my journey playing Star Atlas. Again, I'm in Sage trying to get Mamba X, so I'm still moving my carbon. I think I finally got, actually, where's my piece of paper? I finally got below 10,000, 12,000. Anyways, I got below 20 million units. So I'm definitely over 50% and moving forward. But I think it was this past week, maybe it was a week before, but they did release the new redemption crafting recipe, whatever you want to call it, for the Mamba X. And I actually quickly looked at it this morning and just didn't have time. And yeah, I forgot that I had the original recipe in an email. So I looked at the two together and I was like, oh, wow, those numbers are a lot bigger. So definitely need to spend the time to finally put that into my spreadsheet to figure out how much base materials, and I have to admit I'm a little afraid that the numbers will be way too high. But I guess going on that, even though I'm behind the times, the game has moved forward. So again, I'm still needing to look at the local market idea, and now, again, the fleet rental idea. So it's unfortunate that it took so much time, but again, I'm still of the opinion that we should be able to do things if we're willing to spend the time. I'm not truly upset that the recipe changed. I think they mentioned, and I think it's safe now to start sharing foundation room things because it's a public forum. I mean, it's read-only but public. That I guess the team made some realizations that the original one was, quote, too easy. So yeah, that's fine. It stinks to be me, but whatever. So we'll see. But it does make me also think that this, if I do the research to figure it out, not just how many resource, but maybe I should put some thoughts on time, because again, that kind of goes back to that local market theory. I want to research more if it might make more sense in that. But, and again, the third thing, not that it has a date, but if the Solana fees were paid for by, the Atlas locker, then, I mean, I kind of feel like at that point, then it is truly okay to have it take forever, or not forever, but, a long time, because I'm not losing the Solana fees. You're still kind of self-contained loop. So, but again, I don't know when that Atlas locker thing, they haven't really said that there's a plan when that might come. So anyways, again, still need to do all the research, but yeah, tempering my thoughts that, is this still a realistic goal? At least in the short term. Maybe, now that I'm thinking this out loud, I mean, maybe that's the simpler way. It's okay that the recipe changed because it takes more time, but maybe I should just stop and wait till the Atlas locker thing comes out. And then it truly is just a time thing. It might, if I had a bigger fleet, it could go faster. Maybe I could think about putting some resources in to rent fleets, so maybe focus on sending my fleet out just to do mining, which sure felt, actually, that's a really interesting thought. What if I still should do the research on the local markets, but even if with my fleet the size it is, if I send it out and mine those resources, that sure felt like mining all that carbon didn't take forever, but transporting it back sure does feel it. So what if I went out and took the time to, in other words, stop transporting and go out and mine everything now with the new recipe, and then transport or rent something to transport it back, and that's that's when I pay, quote unquote, pay more than it would be to sell it at the markets. But again, I guess you could go back and forth which is which. So anyways, I guess the fact that have some options and have some thoughts, it shows how, Star Atlas is moving forward and giving us more options as the gamers, admittedly only in Sage, but that's okay. So anyways, don't need to hear me keep babbling, but that's some thoughts. So to wrap it up, thanks for listening. Again, always interested if anybody wants to be a podcast guest. Haven't been the best at following up on some of those, but again, maybe. If you're interested in some Star Atlas mugs and a couple of pieces of wall art, please check out my merch store at intergalacticgear.com. And again, if you're interested in hanging out with a bunch of Star Atlas gamers who aren't going to join guilds, please go to intergalacticcoalition.com. I do have an interest survey there. So thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a great week ahead. This is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald.